Hello everybody, this is 8-Bit Flashback, and today I'm reviewing the PlayStation Classic. Now there's been a lot of bad publicity surrounding this, along with a lot of disappointment and even canceled pre-orders. But I'm going to try to keep an open mind as I review the PlayStation Classic and find out if this thing is good or bad. So let's start with checking out the box before we open this up. And I do like the detail on this quite a bit, and it does have artwork on all sides of the box with some really nice detail. And it does make me excited just looking at this, and it's bringing back all kinds of memories as well. I believe the first game I ever played on the PlayStation was ESPN Extreme Sports. It was a fun game back in the day, but today not so much. Okay, it's time to open this up, and there appears to be a box inside of a box. And if we open this up, there appears to be another box inside of a box, which is a little strange. And there's a quick look at the manuals, and they do come in a couple different languages. And here is the PlayStation Classic. So it kind of goes without saying, but it seems to be packaged really well, maybe too good. So let's grab this out of here and see what else we have inside the box. Open up the sides here, and we got two controllers. So that is nice that it comes with two different controllers, although it's a bummer that they're not the analog or the DualShock controllers. You also get an HDMI cable along with a micro USB power cable, but no AC adapter, but it will work with most of your phone chargers out there that supply 5 volts, 1 amp. And here's an up close look at the console. And as far as the looks go, I think it looks amazing. And I think they did a great job with the detail and the colors, and it looks just like a miniature PlayStation. And as far as the construction goes, it feels really lightweight, kind of like a toy when I'm holding it in my hand, and I would prefer it to have just a little bit more weight to it. But the plastic itself is fairly thick, so it seems to be built fairly well. On the top of the console, all those buttons are functional. That reset button will take you back to the main menu, the power button will turn it off and on, and the open button will be used to swap discs for the games that require two different discs, and that will be a virtual disc swap. And here's one of the controllers, and the quality of these feel really nice. They feel a lot like the original when I'm holding it in my hand, and they even have those rubber buttons that are located in the middle. And one thing I like a lot about these controllers is where it plugs in. The shape of it resembles the original plugins, and I think that adds a nice touch. And I'd even say that it's a better design than the SNES and NES Classic controller ports. And here it is compared next to an original PlayStation, and as you can see, the colors, design, and detail is very close to the original PlayStation. And I believe the Classic is built at a 45% scale. And there's a lot of extra detail that I didn't even notice before, such as detail on the memory card slots, embossed logos, and it even has a fake parallel port. At first glance, it looks like this little access door should open, and maybe it's hiding something behind it, but it definitely does not open. And on the left is an original PlayStation controller, and as you can see, it looks very similar, if not identical, to the new Classic controllers. And for a size comparison, here it is next to a Nintendo and Super Nintendo Classic Edition, and the Super Nintendo Classic Edition actually is very close in dimensions to the PlayStation Classic. And this is a custom build I just did recently. This is a PlayStation TV with a custom case that's built at about a 40% scale. And this can play PlayStation games as well, and I will be comparing these side by side with some gameplay footage in a future video. I will also be comparing the Raspberry Pi 3 and the Oddworld XU4 with PlayStation gameplay footage in the future as well. Okay, it's time to fire this up and check out some software. And again, I really dig the way these controller ports look. But I do have one complaint right now. I'm not a fan of how the LED light stays on when it's in the off position. As you can see right now, there's an orange light glowing when it's in the off position. And I'd prefer that just to be off, but it's not the biggest deal. When you power it on, it does turn green. So when you power it up, you will get greeted by the Sony logo. And the first time you power it up, you're going to get greeted by the language screen as well, so you're going to have to pick which language you want to use. And you're also going to get greeted by the console button guide, and this will pop up in multiple times as you're playing the console. It'll pop up before games, and it starts to get a little bit annoying. So this is where things start to go downhill. I'm not a fan of this user interface at all. It works, but it's really boring. There's no catchy tune, the pictures don't even have borders, and no background images. It's just not very exciting. Even the PSP, which came out back in 2004, has a better user interface. The next issue would be the gaming lineup. I would say I would probably only play half of these games, and the rest I just don't care about. But once this gets hacked, and it's only a matter of time before it does, that will correct this issue. But for this video, we're just going to concentrate on what the console offers right now. And now I'm inside the settings menu where I can activate the screensaver. I can also activate the power save settings where it turns on after an hour. And we can restore back to default settings or initialize the console where it's going to wipe everything completely and make it back to where it was brand new. And this is some documentation that talks about the open source software that uses the PCSXR emulator. And that's another big issue a lot of people are having, including myself, the fact that it doesn't use an in-house emulator. But really, all that should matter is how well does it actually play the games, and we will get to that here in just a few. There is virtual memory cards for game saves that function just like they did on the original, except everything is virtual. There's also game state saves, where you can save a game by pushing the reset button and resume right back where you left off, although only one game state save is allowed for each game. Now it's time to try out a game, so let's start with Battle Arena, and this is where the next issue begins. About half the games are in a Europe and PAL format, which is optimized for 50Hz TVs. For the US games, they're optimized to run at 60Hz, which would be the standard for US television sets. So what this means is some games might perform just slightly slower, with a lower frames per second, but depending on how the game and emulator is optimized, the resolution might actually be higher for the games in a PAL format. But I will have to do more testing and comparing to confirm the actual slowdown and resolution. At this point, I can't confirm anything yet. And to be fair, out of all the games I played in a PAL format, I can't tell the difference, and that might just be because I don't know the games well enough. But what I will do in a future vid is a side-by-side comparison with the original PlayStation, so I can see the actual difference. And as far as the gameplay goes for Battle Arena, it seems good. I'm not noticing any type of lag, and I would say it's very playable. The only problem for me is I don't care for the game. So when you push that reset button, that'll take you back to the main menu, and it also creates a resume point where you can start the game right where you left off. But it is a little disappointing that you only get one game state save. On the Super Nintendo and NES Classic editions, I think you get like 5 game state saves, so that's a lot better. And there's that good old button mapping diagram I was talking about earlier. So this is Metal Gear Solid, and it's good to see that this is a US version of the game. And this is one of those games that really belong on the PlayStation Classic list, and I'm glad it's on here because it's a favorite. So out of all the games I've played, everything seems to play well, except for one game so far, Ridge Racer. For some reason, it just seems off. The visuals seem choppy, and the controls are sluggish, making it hard to control the car, which obviously makes the game not very enjoyable to play. But again, I'm going to have to compare this game and play this on the original PlayStation to see how it behaved on there. But I'm guessing it plays a lot better on the original PlayStation, otherwise how would this game have got so popular with bad gameplay? So here's my overall thoughts for the PlayStation Classic. For the looks of the console, I like it a lot, and I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 score. For the user interface, I'm going to say 2.5 out of 10 because I'm not a fan. For the games, I like half of them, so I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. For the emulation performance so far, I'm going to say 6 out of 10, and I have a feeling I'm going to run into more issues after further testing. So this being priced at $99 does seem a little high to me. If it had a more solid game list, I think it'd be well worth it. Now if you're one of the few that like the majority of the games included on this, then I'd say this is probably a good deal for you. Otherwise, until this thing gets easily hacked, I just don't think the value's there. Okay, it's time for me to go, but if you want to stick around you can. I will be showing some gameplay footage from a few different games. And if you like that video, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe. And have yourself a great day, and I'll see you next time.
You win. Round 2. Fight. You lose. You win.